So good morning and thank you for joining. So we'll be proceeding ahead from where we stopped yesterday. So the topic of discussion right now is we are trying to understand what is the activity rule all about. Just giving a brief understanding of what we have covered so far. Activity rule in Pega is used to build business logic, like we understood. The logic could be anything in terms of implementing at the back end with respect to doing some processing, or could be some operations you want to achieve. To do that, we can use a activity rule. Of course, it belongs to rule obj activity class, right? And there are some built-in methods and functions which we can use to write this business logic within Pega. And to understand that, we created a activity, right? We created an activity in the 8.7 version. How did we create? We can do it multiple ways. One is by going through the technical category and seeing going to the activity under technical category, right click on that and you can create, or you can also go to your application or work class, and then from there also you can right click and create your activity. Perfect. Now that we have understood this, uh, let us try to see how activity is written. So yesterday we created a child activity inside which we used the page new method to create a new page, which was the child page. We called it a child page and it belonged to the class alpha hyphen data hyphen states table. This was one of the data types which we had created during our data types class. Yes or no? Right? Okay, perfect. So that's where we were. So we'll go further from here and we'll try to create another activity and we'll understand what exactly are the other functions which we can perform using our activity. So yesterday we saw um, page new, page remove, and also property set are the three methods which we saw in Pega, right? Today we'll try to understand few more methods which are kind of advanced but really helpful and will help you understand how exactly activity would work. So this was a child activity which we created yesterday, right? And then this has three steps. We also saw using tracer and clipboard how values get saved onto the page, as well as how exactly you can know what event occurred at what time using the tracer tool. Yes or no? Did we see that? Okay. I'm hoping we have understood that part. With that understanding, I'm taking one step ahead today. Today we will try to see few other operations which we can do with activity. What is that? So today we will see, you know, how can we call another activity from, how can we call another activity from a activity. This is something we will see. Along with that, we will also see features like branching of activity and also something like queuing. How do we do queuing in activity, queuing of activity? Okay, how do we do that? I'll try to take a simplest approach to help you understand. The basics remain same. Most of the applications you go into at real time will have a lot of activities written, but if you try to understand the way I'm trying to explain you, any big activity you might take, it will be easy for you to understand. It won't be such a challenge for you to understand. So with no further delay, now we saw there was an activity which we had already created, which is our uh, child activity. Let me also try to create another activity. Like I said, I can create an activity by going to my work class and right clicking there, right? And I can say create, and I can come to the technical category and I can say choose activity. right? I'm trying to create one more activity here. Let me call this activity as um, that was child activity. Let me call this as a parent, because I want to show you how exactly the calls will go through. I'm calling this particular activity parent activity, and it belongs to the work class. Perfect. This looks good, right? And then I will say create and open. All I did was just right clicked here, went to technical category activity, and I told new activity, and this form came up. So I do have my child activity and the parent activity, which I'm going to use. As we did in that, I also need a page here. So I'll create a parent page, and uh, parent page, and this also belongs to alpha states table is what it belongs to. I want to create something under states table, alpha data states table. Okay, this page also belongs to the states table class. Let me copy this. All I did was created an activity called parent activity, came to pages and classes, specified which page I want to use, right? If you guys are new, you don't understand what are pages, you can go to our YouTube channel. I have posted a class regarding what are pages all about. It's very straightforward and simple. You can cover that there. Just understand that to hold single value properties or some properties, we'll be using a page. Okay, and then I'm coming back to the steps tab, and then what I want to do, like yesterday, today also what we will do, we will try to create a page. How can I create a page in activity? What do I have to do to create a page in activity? Page new method. The method we will be using is page new. Didn't we say in the definition itself that, you know, activity is nothing but usage of methods, function, and built-in activities to write the business logic. That's the same thing we are trying to do here. We are going to use built-in methods to build a activity. That's the same thing we are going to do here. So let me create a new page. To create a new page, I'll use the page hyphen new method. Do we see a page hyphen new method here, which is being provided by Pega? All these methods are already written. You have to just use them and do the processing whatever you want to make. I'll say page new is the method I want to use. What is the page name? Parent page. Parent page is the page I want to create a new page with the name parent page. Okay, description you can just write here for your understanding. You can write something here, creating new page. Okay, because anyone, for example, after you learn, you won't need to write this. You will know that okay, page new means you are creating a page. But if you write like this, anyone who reads your code will be able to understand what are they trying to do here. You can say creating a new page to store parent data. Does it make sense? This is just some description for anyone who reads your code. It is a good practice to write stuff like this. Okay, perfect. Now I also want another step. For example, if I had to add another step, I click on add step and it will add me a new step. Now let us say I will remove this page. So I will use page hyphen, and if I go down, I will see there is a method called page remove. Let me use that. And what is the page I want to remove? That is parent page. See, if I click on drop down, I'm getting this, deleting this page. Okay, I'll just comment this. If I don't want this to be executed, I can comment here and it won't be executed. Let me save this activity. So what did we do? Exactly same as what we did yesterday. Today also we created one more activity called parent activity, and we saved it, right? And we added two methods, page new and page remove, and we closed it. Now let us try to see how exactly can I, let me add a step below this. Okay, so now I want to call another activity from this activity. This is a parent activity, right? Let us call the child activity. Let us see how we can make a call to a child activity from a parent activity. There is a keyword called call here. If you see, you can use call and I can choose the activity name. Do I see the activity name which I want to call here when I click on drop down? Yes, no. After choosing call, when I click on the drop down, I'm able to see that thing. Let me come back again. All I did was I created an activity with the name parent activity. I added a page reference called parent page and which class does it belong to. I created a new page in this first step. Second step, I want to call another activity from this particular activity. So I am using the call keyword. Okay, and then I am saying, hey, call this activity, child activity. Invoking another activity. We are invoking another activity from this activity. Yes or no? Do you agree, guys? Are we able to understand what we are trying to do here? Okay. So this is understood. Very nice. Let us say I want to set uh, a value on one of the on the parent page. Okay, let us say I want to do some property set. I want to set some values on this for properties in parent page. What will I use for that? There is a method called property set which we saw yesterday. Property hyphen set. Am I able to find that? What will this help us with? To set values for properties, we can use this. Where are these properties lying? I want to access these properties through parent page. Let me take the reference of that thing, of that page. Now when I click expand here, it will give me, it is asking me now, hey, what is the property name which you want to set a value for? So I'll say dot state code, and it's telling what is the state code. I'll say MH Maharashtra, right? Also what I will do, I will say dot state name. What is the name? MHRASHTRA Maharashtra. Okay, perfect. So now we did couple of things here, right? Really interesting. We are able to create a page here, and I'm also calling a child activity, and I'm doing a property set where I'm setting a state code and a state name on parent page. Interesting, but let us see how does it help us, on the child activity also we are doing something similar, but we are not calling any activity from here. For now, I will comment this page because this will delete the page. So I'm commenting the page remove in both the activities. Perfect. Okay, save. Yesterday we traced this child activity and we saw what operations happen when we try to run that. Similarly, let's try to trace this guy today. Okay. How many steps does my activity have here, guys? Very good. So the fourth commented, that's why you have only 3 steps. Very good. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Step 1 is just creating a new page for me. Step 2, I am calling a child activity or another activity from step 2. Step 3, I am doing some property set where I am trying to set some properties on parent page. That's what I am trying to do. Now that I have told you this in English, let us see in Pega also, does this happen? Okay, that is something which we have to figure out. Let me just try to save this and run. Okay, let me check if I've saved the child activity also. Looks like I have. Let me hit a save again. Perfect. From actions of the activity which is open, you can see there is a run button. Click on that, and when you try to invoke it, you will see something called as trace. Try to open that. In the sense, what you're trying to do is, like we said, trace is nothing but trying to see what is happening in a step-by-step way. And Pega provides you this tool called tracer. You can access it from here. Also in the bottom there is this tracer button. You can also access from here, right? Many places which you can do, but ultimately it will help you trace what operation you're trying to do. Perfect. So now let me hit run and let us see what happens. I want you to focus here and understand what exactly is happening. So Pega tells that operation was successfully run. Okay, let me close this. Let's go back to my clipboard. Let me pause this so it doesn't run away. Understand this very carefully. Okay, so let me explain you here first. This is the number of steps which were number of steps which were taken to complete that activity. Okay, and when it was executing, which step was the execution in? To understand that, you can see here it tells, see, step 1, see the column name is step 1. Step 1 of this particular activity, is this the activity which we created, parent activity? Yes or no? Right, it is telling you which step the execution is in and which activity it is getting called from. Also it tells you what is the status, was it good or it failed or whatever it is, it is giving here. Don't worry about that. Right now my first step is creating a new page. Yes or no? Page new. Right, all I am trying to help you understand is how to relate your tracer to your activity. Are we able to relate this? My first step was creating a new page, right? That's what tracer is telling. Okay, a page new got created, which is parent page. Perfect. After that, my second step is calling a child activity. Yes or no? Where is the execution now? Where is the control right now? In line number 5, where is the control? Is it in parent activity or child activity? Right, if you see here, from parent activity you are saying call child activity. That is why if you see line number 5, the control jumped into child activity. See, activity begin, child activity. Why? Because you have asked in the activity to jump the control from the parent activity to child activity. That is why you are seeing the control jumped here. So if you see, it is a sequence, right? First step, second step, it is jumping here. It came here, and what it is doing, it is telling, hey, inside the child activity we are creating a new page. Yes or no? Called child page. Are we able to relate, guys? Perfect. Good. So now first step was in the parent activity to create a page, which was parent page. We created that, and I mean Pega created that. And the next step we were asking Pega to is go into the child activity and perform the operations which are there. It went into the child activity. It saw the first step in the child activity was create a new page. It did. Second step was setting some property. Yes or no? If you go back and see, we are trying to set some property there. In the child activity also, we are doing a property set. Yes or no? Andhra Pradesh is what we are setting. So ideally what should happen is the property, this property should be set on the child page. Yes or no? That is the expectation, right? That's the expectation. Let us try to open and see. Here, if you see, the step 2 has ended here, right? Step 2 has ended here, right? Let us try to open the child page. If you click on this, you can see that. See, if I click on this, am I able to see Andhra Pradesh and AP on child page? These are the true properties I said. Very good. So what Pega is doing, it came into child activity. Whatever you have to ask child activity, whatever child activity steps you have mentioned there, those are completed. Yes or no? And the control came back to the parent page. If you see from this, once the child activity got completed, the control came back to the parent page, the parent activity. Line number 12 is belonging to parent activity. Yes or no? Right, so the execution started from parent activity. It did the first step. Second step was calling this child activity. It went into child activity, performed all the operations you had asked there. After that, the control came back to parent activity. Are we able to understand? And in the parent activity, what we are doing in the third step, we are trying to set some state code and state name. Yes or no? Let us see if that is done. Yes, I am seeing Maharashtra and MH being set. Does it make sense, guys? Whenever you call a activity from activity, the control jumps from the parent activity to the child activity, and it completes all the operations there and jumps back to the parent activity. Is it clear? Very important, because you'll see many calls like that and you're like, oh, why is this calling this thing, what is happening here? Very simple. That's why I have given parent and child as name, so that you can understand how, what is the parent here, what is the child here. The calling guy is the parent, the place where it goes and comes back will be the child. Does it make sense? Here now you can give whatever names, but you will know where the control is. Yes or no? Whenever you are going to use call function to call an activity, you will see that the parent activity will start, the control will go into the child activity, it will complete all the operations there, and the control will come back to the parent activity. That is why we are seeing that thing happening here. Are you able to understand how call activity is working? Perfect. Very good. So that's a very clear understanding. These are like basics. If this thing is clear, right, how much ever complex system you see, you will be able to decode it. You can also verify that from your standard thread. You can go to your clipboard and see there is a child page, right? Do you see that thing got set AP and Andhra Pradesh? Yes or no? Perfect. Similarly, that also should be there. Parent page. See, I'm able to find parent page also. MH and Maharashtra. You are able to verify this thing through the tracer as well as the clipboard. The verification is done. So the call activity operation is understood, is what I am assuming. In call, in the call activity, control of execution starts from parent activity, goes to child activity, completes all operations in child, and then the control of execution comes back to calling or parent activity. Is this understood, guys? Yes. No. Perfect. So we understood it through tracer also. So this is something we should be very clear for you. Very good. Perfect. If this is understood, let's take one step ahead. Okay. Now, what I will do in the same activity, in the same parent activity, I will change the uh, call. Instead of call, I don't want to use call. I want to use branch. I want to branch from this particular activity into a different activity. Let us see if there is a branch method. Do I see a branch method here? Like call. Do I see branch? Right? I'll use branch and I'll try to call the same activity. Right? What is the activity name? Child activity. Yes or no? Let us save this. Let's save this. And same thing. Let's try to run it again. Let me close this. Close the tracer. We remember, now you guys remember how the tracer was looking for that guy, right? Let us see what happens when we try to execute this. I won't say anything, just let us run and see, and you will identify what happens here. I'll open the tracer. successfully got executed. Perfect. Let us try to see if it was able to trace. Perfect, it has traced. Now, can someone look at this and tell me what has happened? Anyone gets any idea about what has happened? Yes? No? All that we did was we replaced the call with branch. Okay, yeah, go for it. Whoever is explaining. Hmm. If you want to explain in Telugu also, you can do it. That's okay. I just want to know if you guys have understood it. Okay, perfect. So I'll try to explain. So what has happened right now is exactly same as what we did before. But if you see, instead of call, we have used branch here. But a very important thing to notice here is the control started from parent page where it executed my first step, which was creating a new page, right? New parent page. Second step was branch myself or branch this execution to a calling activity, whatever activity you're calling. Child activity was being called from here. So it branched into this, the control and the execution went here. It executed all the steps of child activity, but the control never came back into the parent activity and executed the rest of the steps. Yes or no? Do you see that? In when we used call instead of branch, what happened was it went into the child activity, completed all the steps in the child activity, and it came back to the parent activity who initiated this call, and it executed rest of the steps there. Did we see that when we did call? But here, if you see, the rest of the steps of parent activity are not executed. Yes or no? Yes, whatever operation we did the property set, that is that thing. But what you have to understand here is whenever you use a branch, the rest of the steps in your parent activity from where you are calling won't be executed because the control is never going to come back. When it goes to child activity, it executes the child activity and that's it. From there, it doesn't come back to the parent activity. Is it clear, guys? Yes or no? Call and branch. Also, something you should see is these call are in a sequence. They are sequential. They are running in sequence. First parent, and then it is going to child, and then in the when we used call, first the parent activity got called, then the child activity was invoked, child got completed. After that, the parent again was called. So there is a sequence: first, second, third. There is a sequence. It's not like parallel or something like that. Are we able to understand, guys? Call and branch clear enough? Is it clear? So if you see, child page will have the property set already, Andhra Pradesh and AP. But the parent page is not available anywhere here. You know why? Because the control never came here. So if you see, it is just a blank new page with no values. Let us also try to verify the clipboard, right? If that is telling some other story. Let's try to see. Let's see what the clipboard page has to say, right? I'll go to my standard thread because that is where we are running this from. Child page will have Andhra Pradesh and Andhra, right? AP. But my parent page, which is here, oh, kind of makes sense, right? We see that this step in my parent class, which is setting Maharashtra, didn't get executed because the control went here, never came back to execute this step. Are we able to understand call and branch? Control of execution started at parent. However, once the branch activity was called, the control never came back to parent activity. Is this understood, guys? And you should be very clear because you will get questions on this stuff in your interview. So you should be clear enough when they say what is activity. It's a rule in Pega which is used to develop business logic. And if they ask what is the difference between branching, calling, and whatever, if they ask, you should tell how the execution moves. This is what they expect. This understanding is what they expect. They don't want you to write code or anything. They just want you to know, like, do you even understand how exactly the execution control moves when you are trying to use call and branch, will be the question. Perfect. I hope you guys have understood this call and branch in detail. Yes, no? Perfect. So now that we are done with call and branch, let us also try to see what queue is all about, right? What queue is all about. So today's takeaway is, bhai, what is activities? How can I write an activity? How can I write multiple activities? How can I call them? How can I branch out of them? And how can I queue out of them? Okay, coming back to my same parent activity, and I don't want to branch this time. Let me delete this, and I want to say I want to queue. I want to use this method called queue which Pega provides. Am I able to find this method queue? Call branch queue. Perfect. Okay. And then which activity am I queuing it to? Child activity. And I'll say save. Perfect. We understood what is call. We understood what is branch. Now we are trying to see what is queue. Let me close all the open windows. We understood through clipboard also. Run prompt also. Perfect. Let me try to run this and let's try to see what this has to offer. Okay, turn on the trace. Run. Successful. Perfect. Okay. What is the difference here? Yeah, step method change to queue. Wow, very big difference someone has identified. Good. Okay, okay. But do we see something different here? Yes, but where do we see any entries for child activity? Like any entry by the name or something? Are you able to find child activity here? No, no child activity. But let us see if the parent page has been executed. If you see three steps are there in my parent activity, it looks like all three are executed. Yes or no? Right? Let us see if the value got set. Parent page, Maharashtra, MH. Oh, perfect. The values have been set. Do we agree? Yes or no? Perfect. So looks like the parent page got parent activity got executed successfully. But we also see that the second step in that parent activity is called queuing this child activity. Yes or no? Right? Perfect. But how do we know like if the child activity got executed or not? One thing we can do is we can go to clipboard and verify if the values are updated, right? If I can see Andhra Pradesh and Andhra for that pay on that page, I can be sure, okay, this got executed. But what happens? Let us see. First, let's go and check. Oh, we see that the values have been set. Yes or no? Just remember, these are not from last execution. The current run what we did, these are fresh values from there. Don't think these are from that execution. If you have that doubt, let me do one thing. Let me edit. I am removing these values. Save. Do you see this? Does it have this? Does this page have any values? Refresh. Does this page have any values now? Perfect. I'll run this again. I won't trace it, but I'll just normally run it so that you guys know that those values are fresh. They are not from previous execution or anything. Okay. Now let me go to clipboard. Switch to standard thread. Didn't get updated. It was okay because it is queuing. Perfect. Let's try to trace it again. Wow. Let's just remove those properties. Perfect. Okay. So queue. So we're looking into queuing the child activity, and we're trying to understand what exactly happens when we queue a child activity, right? Where's my tracer? I want to clear it and do it from fresh. I've saved it. Perfect. Run trace and say run. Successful. Okay. Where's my tracer? Very important thing to notice here. In call, what happened was the execution started from parent activity. Whenever we did a call of child activity, the control went into the child activity, did the operations to be done there. Then the control came back to the parent activity and it executed rest of the steps. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Right? Perfect. So in when we did branch, what happened was when we did the branch, we were able to see that the execution started in the parent activity. It created the new page of the parent activity. Then the control jumped into the child activity, but the control or the execution never came back to parent activity. Is it understood? Those are the two things we already covered. Yes or no? Perfect. In queue, it is slightly different. What happens is you are telling PRPC or Pega that, hey, start execution in this activity, which is my parent activity, and queue this child activity. Whatever activity is, it is telling, put that in a queue. What is a queue? For example, you're going to buy tickets in for a movie. Where do you go and stand in the line, right? In the queue. Yes or no? Right? Queuing is exactly similar to that. What we are saying here is execute this, but parallelly put this guy in this guy also in execution. Let's say if there are two lines through which you are going to get a ticket. one line is there in is offering the second line also is offering a ticket. That means you and your friend, for example, you are standing in two parallel lines. That means both are you are going to get a ticket, yes or no? Parallelly, like at the same, so it might happen that at the same time both of you can be at the counter. It's possible, right? If there are two windows at the from where the ticket is being given, and you guys are in two parallel lines, if the possibility is there, like both of you can get ticket at the same time, or he might get it first early before you, or he might get after you, yes or no? These are the possibilities when you go for a parallel line of queue, yes or no? The same thing is true here. What we are saying here is the execution, you're queuing this child activity also, you're telling this activity let it run in parallel. In the sense, the execution of the parent activity will not impact the execution of child activity. That will happen on a parallel line. This is happening on the one line, this is happening on the other line. All those others are like, having only one track. For example, if you have only one railway track to your hometown, you will see that the other train which has to move will be waiting till the one train will come. Only after that the other train can leave, yes or no? Was it not happening when we are doing call? The first train started, the parent activity started executing, then the control went to the child activity, the child activity got executed, or after that the control went to the parent activity, yes or no? Only one activity was in execution at any given point of time, yes or no, guys? Are you able to understand that? But in queuing it is not like that. Parallelly both the activities will be running. It's not that only parent is running then the control is going to child. No, as soon as you say queue, these both activities might be running parallelly, and whatever things you are trying to do in that activity will be happening. It won't be waiting for anything. If you see in the call, the parent activity is waiting for the child activity to complete, yes or no? When we are using call, the parent activity execution started, but it is the after that, after as soon as you call the child activity, the execution of the parent activity is halted, or it is waiting for the child activity to complete, yes or no? In the call, that means it is sequential, right? But here it is not sequential, it is like, parallel. Yeah, the parent page, see the parent page, the value got set. If you go to your clipboard and see the if you go to the clipboard and see, you will see that the child page also the value is set, though the execution is not visible here. Why? Because this child activity was running parallelly. Why? As soon as you specify queue, this activity runs in parallel to this parent activity. Does it make sense, guys? Yes, no, any doubts? So we saw a couple of things today, right? Kind of fruitful understanding session today, right? We understood how call works, right? Call activity works, branch activity, and queuing also. In queuing, what is happening? The execution of both activities is happening parallelly. Are we able to identify when the child page got called and when the property got set? Are we able to identify from the tracer? Yes, no. In the queuing trace, can you show me where exactly the property set of the child page is happening? Are you able to identify? Right? That means it is happening somewhere parallelly. How do we know? Because when I go and see in the clipboard, the property is set. Yes or no? That means somewhere parallelly it is happening. In the sense, the execution is happening parallelly. Whenever you go for queue, the execution happens parallelly. That means the child activity and parent activity execution doesn't depend on each other, right? They are not dependent on each other. However, here they are dependent. In call, they are dependent. Yes or no? Only after the child activity got completed, the third step of parent activity could execute. Why? Because parent was waiting. Hey, once that the call which I have sent for the child, after that is completed, only then I can run. Do we agree? Perfect. So this was like a brief understanding and a know-how session for activities. Of course, we'll be writing a lot of them, but this is like a basic understanding using which we'll be building applications. So you will have to try out this stuff in your local also. We'll be doing a lot more stuff like performing database operations using activities in our upcoming classes. But this is a detailed understanding of how exactly a activity is created. What are the methods you can predominantly widely used methods are like page new and call, property set, are these are like some important methods. How exactly we can use them is something which I have demonstrated. I'm believing that you guys have been able to grasp what exactly we are trying to do here. If there is any doubts, of course, stop me and try to understand. We'll be doing more on activities. The upcoming classes are more to do with activities, like other different methods with respect to DB operations is something which we will be doing. So we'll look at it, but today's class is dedicated to like just explain what are activities, how do you call them, how do you queue them, how do you branch them, how exactly the execution moves, how do you verify that through clipboard and tracer is what the targeted session was for. I am hoping that it was conveyed to the point. If you guys have any questions, I'll keep it open right now.